What the hell happened there? No Nation. We are live. Voice of college football. We've got big time voice of college football contributor Chris Frazier of SPEARATICS. Go hit him up, sub, follow if you're not already. Most of you already are. What a game. Oh my goodness. It just couldn't be easy, could it, Chris?
Absolutely not. Guys, I'm gonna start off with this. This team won based off of pure talent and heart. They did everything necessary at the last moments that were needed to be done. You know, a lot of people are going to say that it's play calling on the offense, and I disagree. It was poor execution. Um, some play calls you could question, but Jordan's not running the football, and it's for multiple reasons. One's his shoulder, one's something else that's lingering that I don't want to get in trouble for talking about. But he's not taking off running on that play in particular. I'm just using one as an example. There was 4 plays that he should have pulled the ball from the running back and took off himself, and he didn't.
No
Um,
doubt.
and the particular play that I'm going to talk about is the one where we were 3rd and 8 or 2nd and 8, something like that. And he tried to make that long pass down the sideline to Johnny Wilson. He had 8 yards in front of him. It was second and 10. He should have took off, got at least 8 yards, slid. We would have been at 3rd and 2, so it'd have been much more manageable. And then there was a couple of plays in the mesh where he should have pulled, and he allowed Benson to continue carrying the ball. And luckily for Benson, he was able to break a couple tackles in that 11-yard run play that he had. But that ball should have been pulled. He should have took off running. But Jordan has an obvious reason of why he's not pulling the ball, and also why he's not tucking and running as he should. He also missed a couple of wide receivers underneath again, very similar to what we've seen with Boston College. He was going for the big play instead of getting the first down. Jordan's got big eyes because he has that much confidence in these big wide receivers, which I understand. But there is at times where you got to mature a little bit more and go for the first downs instead of the big play. But ultimately, man, how do I say this? Shout out to Kalen DeLoach, because that's who I would pick to break the rock. With the big sack, scoop, and score. Also, the couple of tackles for loss. Also, think he had a sack. He also had multiple balls batted down. Me personally, that would be the gentleman that I pick on defense. On offense, I would probably go with Keon Coleman for making that last touchdown catch, also the touchdown earlier in the game. So whether we like it or not, whether it was ugly, whether it was beautiful, whether it was overtime, whether it was in normal regulation, this team never gave up. They played till the last second on the clock, and that's what you got to do to win ball games, and that's what we went and did. We cannot sit here and act as if winning at Clemson is an easy task. We haven't done it since 2013, winning at Clemson. So it's a very big task. I did see a lot of missed plays. There was a lot of plays where we could have, if we would have executed, this game could have got out of hand on Clemson's side. As you saw right before halftime, how we picked their defense apart and went right down the field and scored. It's almost like these guys need that pressure on them to perform at the highest level. It's almost like they need the pressure. When they come out and they're tired or they're not down, they seem to not execute as well. And I'm sure that's something that's being worked on. But I'm very excited for the win. I don't care if it took overtime. I don't care if this game was closer than it should have been. We still went out and won the ball game, and we're 4-0. And I personally think you take the reins of the ACC at this point. I understand we have not won the ACC championship yet, but I think that you just put the team out that could have gave you the biggest hurdle in the ACC championship. Unless some crazy stuff happens, it should be someone else that we face in the ACC championship.
Yeah, getting this win eliminates any kind of monkey business with the three-way tiebreaker with Duke. If we were to lose to Clemson and beat Duke and then Clemson runs it out, that would have been a nightmare. You get that out of the way. But yeah, I just want to back up to what you said a minute ago. You're absolutely right. Look, well, honestly, we covered the spread. We were only favored by 3. Me and you had them winning by more than what they did. But honestly, by Vegas standards, they overachieved, covered the spread, which is awesome. It took overtime to do it. But at the same time, this is 7 years in a row, or 7 games in a row Clemson have won. This would have been number 5 in a row at Death Valley, dating all the way back. We won that game in 2013. They was on a run before that. This would have tied their longest run ever of home games at Clemson, and we cut that off short. We cut it off at 4. Like you said, we take the reins of the ACC. You do away with that 3-way tie, and yeah, but when it comes to Jordan, you just have to know that it has something to do with the injuries, because so many of them plays, especially that 3rd and 8, it's like, man, if you pull that and just get those yards, and there's a lot of plays, not just that particular one, but one of the things, I'm not sure if but we've talked about amongst ourselves on the different spaces and stuff. Sometimes you just wish you would find the outlet underneath more than you just. A lot of times it's like, man, fade down the left sideline, fade down the right sideline, and it's 3rd and 10, and it's like all you needed was a field goal. You could have just, even if you're playing for 4 downs, so why not try a screen? Why not run it, even though we hadn't been running it all day, which is tough. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, great players make great plays, in big moments and in big games. And sure enough, like you said, that play against Taylor Deloach, from Kalen Deloach against the Clemson quarterback, that's reminiscent of those old school smash mouth 2013, 2012 Florida State defenses where they got going downhill and smacked somebody. Clemson's linebackers and their corners, I'll give it to the guys we talked about. They were right. Nate Wiggins is a freak. That man coverage held up a lot. They ended up paying for it in the end. He was, obviously went out and we targeted that guy that came on the field, the sophomore. But as great as their linebackers and corners played, man, Fentrell Cypress had a pretty rough game. He gave up quite a few catches, but I mean, man, some great plays by those wide receivers. But our linebackers, it's kind of the difference for our defense. Our linebackers held our defense together. Tatum Bethune, heat-seeking missile all day, and then Kalen Deloach comes clean on that play, knocks the ever-loving piss out of the Clemson quarterback. Ball comes out. Braden Fisk can't quite grab it, but he, hands it to Deloach. Deloach grabs it, takes off down the field. It felt really good. It felt like Terrence Parks running down Florida sideline back in, 2012 or something like that. So it's just brings back, old school Florida State defenses, man. What do you think about the linebackers? I know you mentioned Deloach earlier, but I know you as a football junkie, you love what you saw as far as shoring up there at the end in the middle and getting the win.
Yeah, we finally did something that we didn't do pretty much the whole game. In overtime, we didn't let them have the center. We didn't have the middle of the field wide open for Cade Klubnik to be able to throw where a plane could land. Unfortunately, we do a lot of man coverage, which is fortunate in some ways. We had zero respect for Clemson's wide receivers. And exactly what Smooth Criminal just said there. I mean, we didn't have a lot of respect for their wide receivers. We figured that our corners could cover man to man. At times, I'm going to say this, man. I'm going to be honest. I'm not making any excuses. Great game because there wasn't a lot of penalties called either way.
They let them play, didn't they, Chris?
They let them play.
Almighty.
But there were some huge holds on Clemson that should have been called that were never called. There was definitely a pass interference or bare minimum a hold that they should have called on Keon Coleman when he was going up, pretty much going up the short side of the field. Double coverage for the jump ball. Before that play got really, really out of hand, he was getting held pretty hard, 8-9 yards past the line of scrimmage, and that should have been at minimum a hold call. But for how long he held on to him, it should have been a pass interference. It was no call. Let the game continue to go, and then we give them the ball back. Luckily, they had no timeouts, and they couldn't do anything. Poor management. I will say this. I think as bad as play calling was on defense for the first 4 quarters, there was times there were really great plays called. But Florida State ultimately, even though there were some questionable things happening, Florida State outcoached Clemson. 100% outcoached them. Was it close for the first 3 quarters, 4 quarters? Yes. But in overtime, they were completely outcoached. We had been preparing for that for quite some time. But to go into linebackers, man, I was extremely impressed with Tatum Bethune at making sure that Cade Klubnik got hit. And when he did get hit, he got hit hard. Also very impressed with Kalen Deloach on what he did on the outside. in coverage as well. He had a couple of knockdown passes, like I said. He also had that big play where he sacked him and took the ball in for a score. But what a lot of people don't see is we almost eliminated their running game for the most part. They had a couple of big runs, but that's when we were in three-man over top coverage. We had Tatum going out to cover in the flat, or we had Deloach going out to cover in the flat. Kind of leaves the middle of the field open. They take off running. It happens. Unfortunately, for us, it looks worse than what it really is. But luckily enough, we had people make plays, make the tackles that were necessary after they gained the first down, and we do what we're supposed to and lock it up in the red zone. You got to look at what Clemson was not able to do, more so of what they did. They weren't capable of running the ball consistently. They weren't able to do a lot of things. But, Florida State's finally given up a sack on the season on the offensive line. We finally gave one up. But we also got 2 or 3 in that game, if I'm not mistaken. And man, I understand Versus Scott might not be what people want it to be, but that guy created disruption almost that whole game. Every time he was on a snap, he was causing some huge pressures, and it was causing some off throws. Some of those receivers made some damn good catches on Clemson. That one that was to 9 over the middle, that ball looked like a flying duck. It was just, a falling one. That ball was everywhere. He made a hell of a catch. But we got to be excited for the way that this team continued to play all the way through until we won it. They weren't going to give up, the big play so that Clemson could win it. And it shows a lot from maturity on this team. No matter how well things do go or don't go, this team could not stop. They kept doing what they were supposed to do. And it gives Florida State a 31-24 win. And thankfully for us, we're 4-0. And I really think this was the toughest game on our schedule other than LSU. And it should have been more of an LSU game outcome as far as the score goes. But unfortunately, we didn't execute the way that we wanted to in the third and fourth quarter all the way through.
Yeah, man. Still to this year, we have not seen the team play a full four-quarter game. But more than that, we just don't ever see the offense get going at the same time the defense is going. We saw it a little bit in that the end of the third, first half of the fourth quarter in LSU, and bam, we reeled off 31 points like it was nothing. We saw it for like half a quarter in the Boston College game, same thing. We came storming back, 31-10. But this game, it really never came to fruition until overtime. But hey, at overtime, it came together. That last offensive drive, you're pulling your hair out, just like, man, all we need is a field goal. We're on the 39. We don't even need 10 yards. If we could just get 7, 8 yards to get in field goal range, it doesn't happen. But older teams, 22 team, 21 team, probably folds after that. Probably goes down, lets Clemson score, probably, whatever, fumbles on the first overtime. But this team did not let that happen. Getting back to kind of the play in the game, you brought up Holden. Man, I do my best. I've been trying to take notes during these games, be more professional, have talking points to hit, etc. I never made the past 2 weeks. I haven't made it past halftime. The writing gets bigger and sloppier, and more curse words get jotted down. But particularly very early in that first quarter, I think it was Clemson's second drive, 2nd and 12. You're talking about holding Braden Fisk. I don't know what this is. They let defensive lines do this, or offensive lines do this rock bottom move where they get their elbow into a complete chokehold of Braden Fisk. And I've yet to see it called one time this year. I know you have a better eye for X's and O's. It's something I see a lot in football. I see it called. Sometimes I don't. But it's like, it seems crazy to me how many times, and especially him, like I almost put holes in the paper, holding uncalled Braden Fisk, where he just completely blew the guard off the ball and is just literally getting rock bottomed. No call for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There was at least 8 there was at least 8 holds that I would have called, particularly throughout the third and fourth quarter. There was 6 in the first half that should have been called, and not necessarily all on the offensive line. There were some defensive holds on their corners that were not getting called on Johnny Wilson. They were not getting called on Keon Coleman. There was a linebacker hold where they were holding Jaheim Bell really, really bad, and they didn't call it. And ultimately, when they hold on that long, it goes from a hold to pass interference. And either way you want to call it, I'll take the hold or the pass interference at the time. But they didn't call absolutely nothing. And I kind of expected that going into this game once they announced who the head referee was. He usually lets teams play. And it doesn't matter how bad it looks, he continues to let them go. Unfortunately, this game could have been a much better performance from Florida State. You can't really rely on what referees do or don't do. There was some crazy stuff that was game changing, especially in that last 45 seconds in the fourth quarter. That we should have been at the 8-yard line off that pass interference that they did not call. So it is huge when they don't make the calls that are necessary. But ultimately you take it out of the ref's hands, and you do what you did in overtime. I'm very impressed with how our DB started playing in the back half of the fourth quarter and definitely into overtime. They were locked down coverage, and that's exactly what we needed at the time. So really respect, no matter how bad it got at times, even on some of the bad play calls from defense, with allowing so much over the center of the field, allowing them to pretty much do what they want to. I'm very impressed with continuing to come up and play. Oh yes, I'll fully admit it. South Carolina country. I was 100% wrong about us blowing Clemson out. Y'all played one hell of a game. Your DBs were much better than I anticipated. They played a hell of a game. And Cade Klubnik played probably, I think, his best game so far this year. But ultimately we came out with a win. So, but congratulations to Florida State, right? We won the game. But yeah, you're right. I did expect to blow out the second half. It didn't happen. But the Noles stayed true to what they were doing. I think that our coaching staff in the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter and in the overtime just outcoached the Clemson staff. Garrett Riley made a terrible play call when they were trying to go in overtime. It was a terrible play call. And then we ultimately ended up shutting it down with a wide pass from Klubnik. So, yeah, I was wrong, but we still won. So that's all I care about.
So a couple of things I want to touch on before I forget. Smooth Criminal says talent finally took over late in the game. He's absolutely right. We had the talk about this particular crew. I believe it's the crew that called the chipping call that wiped out Dalvin Cook's run in 2016. But past that, we were talking about how they let him play, and I will give them credit. It's not like it was called one way against Florida State or Clemson. They let both sides play. They let the receivers and DBs get after it. But the thing is, when you have Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson versus the wide receivers they have, the young guys, and kind of looking to find a playmaker, that really played into Clemson's hands, mucking this game up at Clemson and making it be what it was. And like you said, we both had this being more of a wide margin. I had it 37-24, so not too crazy off. And I had it 37-21, so not off too much. You easily could have seen that ended up being the score, but hey, at the end of 4 quarters, it was tied. The unsung hero of this game, how about our guy, Ryan Fitzgerald? You want to talk about a guy who tried to change up his technique, his approach from, I'm not sure if it's 2 to 3 or 3 to 2. I believe he tried to take it down from 3 to 2 to get more of an NFL-friendly approach, possibly getting drafted, and he was on a good arc. He was getting better and better, and it was just kind of a natural thing to do. I don't know who kind of taught him that or whose idea it was. Anyways, that's long in the wind. He switches back, gets his mojo back at the end of last year. And then you come into a game like this, he hit a 48-yarder, hits all his pressure, extra point, was ready. I'd have had 100% faith if they would have got into field goal range for him to kick the game winner. But you want to talk about somebody who had the yips. It looked like it was all over. He couldn't get a kick up without it getting blocked. To come around and just, you hear that middle 8, middle 4, last 2 minutes of the first half, first drive after kickoff. This team, it did what it had to do. And in the pressure moments, guys like him made the plays. And at the end of the day, we got the victory, man. What is it? I don't know. What does it just mean for a guy like him? We've talked about Jordan Travis ad nauseum, where he was coming back to being a Heisman contender. But for Fitzgerald to have that game, kick that extra point to have the peace of mind knowing that Clemson would have to get a 2-point conversion, even if they scored and they could, possibly mix the kick. For him to have that big of a game, man, that was just great for him.
Yeah, Ryan has really came into this season with he had in the offseason, I would say that there's not a player on Florida State's roster that during the offseason worked harder on their craft than Ryan did, and it shows. It shows how much he worked on his craft. It showed how important it was to him to be that guy that you could depend on in those last second situations. You need that field goal, whether it's 48 yards away, 52 yards, 53. He's made one from 53. That's his longest. I've seen the kid kick one from 60, and he gets it. Now, not in the game. That's in warm-ups. But whereas when he first came in at Florida State, he was having problems from 55. So he really worked on his strength. He worked on his accuracy. He's came up really big for the Noles throughout the year. He's perfect on the season. He hasn't missed anything. Not an extra point, not a field goal. But I think that goes all into how much work he put in during the offseason, going back to his regular step drop, doing the things that are necessary. He kicked some wild angles, man, things that people don't realize. So I don't think there's an angle on the field this kid can't hit it from. So very impressed with him. We definitely had an edge in the kicking game based off of we knew what we had in kicking. I think that what's his name? Dabo Sweeney did a good job by getting that other kicker in. That guy did very well for them. And I'm with the South Carolina guy that was just talking a minute ago. I hope the narrative changes for Clemson as well. And y'all are not a bad team. You really aren't. Y'all are a damn good football team, especially defensively. Y'all got a defense that goes up amongst any. The way that y'all held Florida State down and the vast majority of the game, very respectful. But, your fan base is going to say that your coaching staff gave us the game or this or that happened. And that's really where it comes from. Like, if you want national media to start talking about your team the way that they should, it starts with what the small, media, the insiders at Clemson, also the fan base at Clemson is talking, what they're saying. You got to – and I think Florida State 100% earned this win. 100% earned it. Now, your fan base is probably going to say we gave them the game. And I disagree wholeheartedly. I think the plays that were necessarily to be made were made. But huge shout out to Florida State and Florida State's coaching staff for coaching this game all the way till it was over. A huge shout out to Jordan Travis playing hurt. Huge shout out to Trey Benson for never giving up on the run. He did everything that he could in his power every time the ball was put in his hands. The most important thing is Florida State did not turn the ball over. They cleaned that up from last week against Boston College. Now we go on a much-needed bye week. We need this week to get guys healthy. You saw Mo go down. I also think that kind of hurt that play that we were going for. But huge week, huge win for Florida State. I don't know that Florida State moves up or down in the rankings. I don't think that Clemson should be unranked, which I didn't think that before we went into this game. With a one loss to Duke and some of the teams they got ahead of Clemson is a joke. Clemson's a damn good football team. Now, I could see where you're out of the top 25 based off of you got 2 ACC losses. But respectfully, if this is the only 2 losses y'all have all season, which is after seeing the performance from this Clemson team, this might be the only 2 games y'all lose all season. So, respectfully, y'all will definitely jump back in the top 25, and you should. But I'm going to have to get off here shortly, man. I just wanted to come on and help you out for a little bit. I appreciate you for having me on. And, Mark, I know you commented. Appreciate you always for having me on as well. Y'all make sure that y'all check out the episode tonight. I'm going to do a special episode based off of the Clemson-Florida State game and talking about what Florida State's got to clean up. And also some of the tall tales that may not have been told in this game yet. Appreciate y'all, and come check it out tonight around 7. Well, we'll do it at 8 o'clock, my normal time. Come on at 8 o'clock, and maybe James will be able to get on. George can come on if he wants. And we'll see y'all later. And congratulations to Florida State football for the big win, and go Noles.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Chris. Y'all make sure y'all jump up there at 8 Eastern and watch that. And we'll see you next time. I'm sure Chris will be up here on Wednesday. What a win, guys. Let's take this moment right here. This show has been awesome. Doing this thing for Mark, getting in here and getting to represent Florida State in this year. Here we are at the end of September, 4-0, big time ACC win, undefeated in ACC play with the reins in our hands. We played Duke. That sets up to be a big time matchup, especially if they can stay undefeated. But this thing is brought to you by TicketSmarter.com. Save on your next trip to the big game with TicketSmarter. Get $10 off of your order of $100 and more using the promo code BIG. That's BIG, BIG. You can also, double it up. Get $20 back on your order of $300 or more with the promo code BIG20. That's BIG20. Look, no sweat. You can use these codes as many times as you like. It's not a single time. It's not when you win a game. There's no stipulations on it. Your purchases with Ticket Smarter are always safe and guaranteed. So get on it now. Get in the game at TicketSmarter.com and remember your promo codes in all caps, BIG and BIG20. Those guys have been great working with us. So go spend some money with those guys and save some money with those guys with those promo codes. Man, it's unreal. Chris touched on it right before he left. A couple of different plays, and Clemson is sitting at 3-1 with the same exact record as Florida State. 1-1, both of us in the ACC. And you're talking about two teams, we probably would have dropped maybe to 10, 15 range. They would have jumped in the top 25, maybe to 17, 18, something like that. And a couple of plays, now all of a sudden they go from being 3-1 to 2-2. And now the national narrative is going to be, oh, well, Clemson stinks. Clemson stinks. It was going to be the narrative if they beat us. Oh, how could Florida State let them beat them? But sure enough, your Noles come out there and get the victory. We found out right before the game started, Robert Scott would not be returning. Akeem Dent would not be returning. Fortunately, Maury Smith did come back. He played the majority of this game. Wow, I got really into it. I'm not sure if he came back in again at the end of the game. I'm pretty sure. I knew he had went out. Darius came in and he'd come back in at one point in time. But long story short, the Noles get the win. Byers struggled a bit at times. He had a few holding calls. I think he got injured a time or two, had to get, helped off the field. I'm not sure if he was cramping or what happened. But as far as I know, no major injuries sustained. Safety, man, that was a big question for us going into this game, guys. It reared its head quite a bit. You heard me and Chris talking about it earlier a little bit. Really, for the first 3 quarters of this game, and even into the fourth quarter, the middle was wide open for Clemson all day, dumping off on little slant. It's something we've seen quite a bit. It's gotten a lot worse since Akeem Dent has went out with his injury. Of course, the way Mike Norvell is with injuries, we're not sure exactly the timetable. I'll tell you what I can tell you without making anybody mad or anything like that. Akeem Dent went down. It looked like a hamstring injury. That's what it looked like on the TV copy when you were watching the game. And here's what Mike Norvell will do. If it's a season-ending injury, an injury to where a guy is going to be out, they're done, there's no hope of them coming back, he will pull them off the depth chart. He will let the media know. Well, that's not what he's done. He's left Akeem Dent in the starting position with an "or" and Kevin Knowles next to his name. What does that tell me? That tells me that Akeem Dent probably has some kind of soft tissue injury, hamstring, like I mentioned before. Maybe, it could be a knee, it could be an MCL sprain, some kind of sprain with a ligament, et cetera, et cetera. I have no idea. These aren't words coming from any kind of person within the staff or inside intel. This is just me talking hypothetically, just using the context clues that we have and know how Michael Norvell operates his program. So that's it. We're hoping that we can get him back soon. We've got several games coming up, Virginia Tech, Syracuse. Hopefully we can get him back before a Duke, before a Miami game in November, before a Florida at the end of the year at the very least. And yeah, for sure, Smooth Criminal hopes the O-line will be back intact with the bye week. Absolutely. This team, man, if there's ever been a team that needs a break, this team needs a break. I can't wait, man. That Virginia Tech game, after this win, make sure y'all show up lot 19 on top of Clement Plaza over there. Man, that tailgate is going to be nuts. I guarantee you all the former players are going to be there. Of course, SPEARATICS, Dim Media Group, and Dope Talk, CJ Wilson, James Williams, and Chris Frazier, respectively, are going to be there putting that thing on. It's going to be crazy. Our girl, Tanisha Miller, I'm sure she'll be there. Go Noles. Go Noles, Tanisha. How about this win right here? How about this win? Guys, it's a good time to be a Florida State Seminole. It's been a long time coming. You marked it exactly, well, I don't know about exactly, but it's 10 years since 2013 when we go in there and spank Clemson's behind in Death Valley. Well, guys, we did not spank their behind this time in Death Valley, but guess what? 10 years later, Florida State goes down to Clemson in a game reminiscent to the Carlos Williams overtime game. The last time anybody had done that to Clemson, he catches a pass for a touchdown. This time it's Keon Coleman from about 15, 20 yards out. Bang, touchdown, one-on-one play against the backup, the sophomore defensive back, gets the victory. Guys, Clemson is like 42 of 43 at home since 2011. The only other team to beat them at home was us 10 years ago. Yeah, I mean, talk to me. Talk to me, Tanisha. Look, it's been a long time, 10 years, and it's like it took us. It wasn't, them getting embarrassed. It wasn't them getting to the big stage, and it was the stage was too big for them. They won their national titles. They had their run. They're still a great team. It's a shame, kind of how they're going to be seen. They're going to be way out of the polls now. It's a shame that they weren't ranked to where this loss didn't just absolutely kill them. If they're going to get in the polls, it's going to take 5, 6, maybe even 7 wins to get there, to get, back in the polls for them. But it doesn't matter. They've got 2 losses in the ACC. Florida State is now 2-0 in the ACC. And when you look around the league, guys, it's a beautiful thing, man. Florida State is in a position, obviously controlling their own destiny. But when you look at the ACC slate, let's look down the list here as far as our schedule. We've got Virginia Tech. I'm going to call that a win, guys. We'll do a little win-loss, a reevaluated win-loss for the rest of the year right here on the Voice of College Football post-game show with yours truly, Renegade Report. That's at The Renegade Report right here on YouTube. Please go give me a subscription over there on the channel. We'd sure appreciate it. Again, that's at The Renegade Report. We're trying to hit YouTube member status. We're really, really, really close to folks and, get their memberships, do their super chat. We appreciate everybody in here watching. But again, let's look at this. Let's do like kind of win-loss total for the rest of the year. A third of the way through, guys. Third of the season's over. Okay, you look down the list. We've got 6 more ACC games. The first one being Virginia Tech. I'm going to mark that as a win, guys. Virginia Tech. Syracuse, they return their quarterback, Garrett Trader, for the 15th year. I know he's probably a junior or a senior. He just started as a true freshman. But I'm going to mark that down as a win, guys. Syracuse, that's a win. So right there, Virginia Tech, Syracuse. Then you want to talk about Duke. What percentage do you want to put on Duke right now? That's the toughest one, man. I'm telling you right now, Riley Leonard, the way he tosses the pill around and the way he works the middle of the field, that's going to be a tough football game, guys. Hopefully, like I said earlier, we get Akeem Dent by then. We can't be sure. We just know that he's not out for the year, according to the depth chart. But Duke is going to be an issue. Let's put that one. I'll put that as like a 60%. We'll put that as like a 0.6 win percentage on Duke. Then you got Miami. Somebody in the chat just said it. Miami could very, very much end up being that guy. They could end up being that team we play in the ACC championship. After all this time, after all few years, that nobody would have thought it was this year. I'll be the first to admit, Miami's overachieved for me. They've looked way, 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 way better on offense than I ever thought they could have. Their defense has come to play. I don't know the status of their safety that got hurt. I know, he's okay. So all the prayers and everything worked. The guy that took that scary hit, I believe it was Cam Kinchins. Hopefully he's back, and by the time we face them, he's at 100%. But Miami came to play. They brought their ball. But you've got Duke and Miami, and then outside of that, who do you got left? Virginia. Okay, Virginia. I'll mark that down as a win. I'm not sure, guys. I'm drawing a blank. I don't even know the rest of the schedule here. As far as ACC, but there's not really anybody on that schedule. I know you've got a cupcake, maybe in North Alabama. They're scheduled between the Florida game and the Miami game at the end of the year. Let's talk about that. You want to talk about tough? Closing out your ACC stretch with Miami and then having hardly any break and going right around and turning it and playing at Florida. Looking at on the schedule before the season started, ooh, I was thinking Miami could be like a tune-up game. Miami, we beat them 45-3 last year. They went and changed their whole staff. Their defensive coordinator got poached by Alabama. Their offensive coordinator was like shamed out of town. He was supposed to be the Pearls and Award winner, came in there and just destroyed their offense. Miami was pretty good on offense in 21. That wasn't like what got Manny just completely thrown out of town. They weren't god awful on offense like they were last year. But sure enough, Miami is a good football team this year, guys. But when it comes to making it to the championship, no question in my mind we get there. It's just a question of who it's going to be. One of the things that stinks about it is Duke and Miami are probably right there, your second and third position, behind us for being in the playoff, or not the playoff, but the ACC championship, and we play them both. So whichever one we beat will probably get pushed out, and the one that beats us will probably get in. So there's a very high chance, even though it didn't end up being Clemson like everybody predicted at the beginning of the year. There's a very high chance we end up with a rematch in the playoff. And it's what the ACC dreamed of back in the 90s or early 2000s when Florida State came to play. I think it was in the 90s because that ACC, that 1999 championship team, I believe, was the ACC team. But anyways, ever since Florida State and then Miami later on that's what they dreamed of. And they might get it. They may get somebody drop a score in the chat. Smooth Criminal comes in saying the Ducks are embarrassing the Buffaloes. Damn. Look, guys, what's the difference in Florida State this year? Like, I love Keon Coleman. Great addition. I love Jaheim Bell. What is the real difference? Anybody in the chat know what the real difference? Throw a super chat up there. Let the world know. It's the trenches, guys. It's the defensive line. It's the offensive line. The offensive line did not have their best game, but our defensive line came to play. Guys, 7 of our points came off of a turnover. Huge. I know we talked about it earlier. Maybe some of you guys weren't in here. How about Kalen DeLoach on that hit, man? Heat-seeking missile. Knocks the ball off, has the wherewithal to slow his gait down, look over and see his player Braden Fisk trying to get it, batting it around, grabs that thing and takes off. And that was a convoy, boys. There was nobody coming. There was Klubnik showed up at the last minute, I believe it was, trying to save it. But yeah, no chance. See what you got. If you guys have any questions, concerns, anything you were wondering about from the game, anything you want to know, throw it in the YouTube comment section and we'll get it up. Don't forget, check out Ticket Smarter. Smooth Criminal says depth. Yeah, man, the depth. That's the difference. We've had, even going back to 2021, we had pass rush. We had Jeremiah. We were good. We didn't have a terrible defensive line. Last year, even better. We brought Verse in, got a little bit more depth, but that first team line was pretty darn good till the middle of our line got hurt. Once defensive tackles started going down last year, it killed us, guys. We could not stop the run. We couldn't stop a nosebleed up the middle of the field. Well, I'll tell you what, today we gave up a lot of passing real estate over the middle because of, safeties, aggressive safety play and aggressive linebacker play. But we came in with the mindset we were going to stop the run and make Cade Klubnik beat us with his arm. Hey, guys, he made some damn good plays. It's Clemson. They have some damn good players, albeit some young depth there, damn good players, whether it comes from high school, transfer portal, it doesn't matter. The Jimmies and Joes are who they are. They are who they are. Doesn't matter where they came from. Clemson, their downfall is greatly overrated. They're not as bad as everybody makes out. Florida State maybe wasn't as good as I expected. But just in this game, you cannot argue with the ceiling of what Florida State has going for them, guys. Because, again, like we talked about earlier, this team still, to this day, to this minute, to this hour, has not put together 4 quarters of a football game. And when I say 4 quarters of a football game, I mean 4 quarters of the defense and the offense and special teams playing complementary football, because that's what championship teams do. You can give up a play here, you can give up a drive here, you can have a close game, but you can't have offenses going 3-and-out multiple times. You can't have defenses giving up multiple scores. You can't let the 2 out of 3 of the first scores. No, you need to give me another stop. You can't let them score too much. And we just can't get all 3 going at the same time. I'll say this about the special teams. The special teams has been extremely consistent. Of all 3 of the sides of the ball, the special teams has been the most consistent. The only kind of area we've seen in special teams issues is the decisions on when to field these punts and these kickoffs. I want to give a hats off to Keon Coleman and the special teams returners on punt, kick returns, everybody today. Outside of one stinking play where they tried to get fancy and trip Clemson into thinking, the punt went this way. It didn't work because it was a directional punt. Clemson's team was already they were locked in. It was not even close to working, and we got we lost field position on that one play. But besides that, we pinned Clemson deep with our punts, and we did not let them Clemson pin us deep with theirs. If the ball needed to be let go and roll through the end zone, it was let go and it rolled through the end zone. If it needed to be fair caught at 13-14, it was fair caught. So I could not have been happier than I was with the returns. Absolutely. I got to watch the FSU 1999 team show. The FSU coaches are motivating them to be a family. Love it. Verse, Bell, Travis work together. I could not agree more, Tanisha. When you want to talk about a family and you talk about culture, this stuff gets thrown around. Everybody talks about it. Mike Norvell is that guy. He doesn't have the culture they have in Colorado. He doesn't have the culture they have at Alabama. He doesn't have the culture they have at Clemson. He has installed his culture. Mike Norvell's climb mentality. His culture at Florida State. It all started out in 2020 when he got here in a terrible position, couldn't recruit, couldn't visit players. It was a nightmare. You had players on social media talking smack about the coaching staff, conspiracy theories, all these things, team-only meetings, et cetera, et cetera. 2021, you start off 0-4, and you really saw the beginnings of it right there, because after that 0-4 team, or start in 2021, in 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, you go back the previous 4 or 5 years, that team would have laid down and quit. All of a sudden, Jordan Travis takes over in the second half of that Louisville game. The rest of the season, we end up winning, I believe it's 5 out of 7 that year. You end up and go on a run. I believe this is the 10th game in a row now. We've won 10 games in a row. The culture has been established. It's really amazing to see these guys. For them to stick their chest out and make that play in overtime, make the play, stop that without, I think in 2021, 2022, I can't even remember who the defensive back was on the play to win the game in overtime. But that would have been pass interference. He would have freaked out and tackled him, and we would have lost. We'd end up finding a way to lose the game. But great teams find a way to win, and this team found a way to win. 4 weeks in a row, 2 weeks really in super tight games. Is it a fair criticism? These people are going to say you're in dog fights 2 weeks in a row against unranked teams. It's fair, but we've talked about it before. I mean, Clemson, what's the reason for them being unranked anyway? They're 2-1. Florida got thrown in at number 25 after beating LSU at 2-1. So 2-1, Clemson doesn't get that benefit of the doubt because they lost against Duke, and Duke doesn't have the name recognition. But what does Duke have? Duke has a first-round draft pick at quarterback. What does Tennessee have? Is Joe Milton going to be a first-round draft pick at quarterback? Have you ever known Josh Heupel, the air raid, pretty much anybody who runs that Josh Heupel offense to have a defense? Have you seen Duke's defense play? Did you see how good Duke's corners are? You know who Mike Elko is? Because he's a damn good defensive coordinator. I know Texas A&M has struggled since they lost that man. They would give anything to get that man back. The promise shown in those early Jimbo years when Mike Elko was here. But guess what? Mike Elko is the head coach at Duke. He's got an off defensive mindset. You know what's dangerous when you get a coach with a defensive mindset with a first-round quarterback? You get trouble. And that's what they got in Duke. They got trouble, you know. Drake Mason, North Carolina, and nobody's talking about it. Drake May, Heisman leader. Heading into this year, it's going to be Drake May, North Carolina. Woo! We don't have them on the schedule, boys. We're set up. We're running through the ACC. And here comes Duke. Duke's got Riley Leonard, first-round pick. They smoked Clemson's ass week 1. And you think, oh, well, Clemson's trash. Did that look like a trash Clemson team y'all saw at Death Valley today? No, I saw them give number 4 Florida State everything they can handle. Oh, well, is somebody going to tell me, oh, well, Florida State really ain't the number 4 team in the nation? Well, tell me who has 2 better wins than LSU and Clemson in the nation. Who has 2 better wins than that? Who has 2 even close? Texas is beating Rice, Alabama. Who else? They got Baylor. Well, Bama and Baylor. Well, Bama, I mean, LSU. The way I'm looking at it right now, if Bama and LSU played on neutral field tomorrow, I'd have LSU by 10. How about you guys? You know, I don't know. Still nobody's thrown a score in the chat here. Why are they making you upset, Philippe? It's going to be all right, man. The Noles are 4-0. September's almost over. We got a bye week coming up. We got a 3-game homestand coming up. It's a great time. It is a great time. Everything is in front of us, guys. As upset and as shaken and as nervous as I was watching that last, series unwind, to watch us go into overtime, to have to pull that thing out of our rear ends. Before the season, I said, I just hope we can get to 3-1. Just get me to 3-1 at the end of September. Who plays Clemson and LSU in September? The first month of the year, September. When everybody has all these cupcakes. Have y'all seen Georgia's schedule? The number 1 team in the nation. Who have they played? Who have they played? Who will they play ever? Who's their toughest team? Guys, I got to stick on this, man. The ACC is a damn good conference this year. And the narratives out there that Florida State is in a dogfight with these ACC teams and therefore doesn't deserve their rankings, I'm not going to have it. This ain't the year. The best conference in college football might be the Pac-12. It might be the Pac-12. Hell yeah, smooth criminal. Conference opponents show up. Yeah, they do. But you don't get the benefit of the doubt in the ACC that you do in the SEC for beating a conference opponent, for winning a tough game against a conference opponent. But this year, I'm going to do my part. I'm gonna talk that talk for the ACC, even though I want to get the hell out of here. It's not like the ideal conference. I can't stand the way it's run. I can't stand the guy that runs it, Stan Wilcox. In my opinion, he's a big reason why Florida State fell in the hole it did. He's the reason that Jimbo ended up leaving. He's the reason that we won't go down to everything. We won't go down to that. It's a great time. It's all about the capital CLIMB, the climb. We are climbing. But yeah, the ACC is up, man. The AC is up, and the SEC is down. SEC people are probably going to say, "Oh, he's feeling his oats." Goes and runs a rant because he beats Clemson, unranked Clemson in overtime. But guys, I'm sorry, the SEC East is dog shit outside of Georgia, and we don't get to see them play anybody outside of that division. I'm not even sure who they get out of the other side this year. Do they get LSU? I don't think they do. Do they get Bama? It doesn't really matter. Bama's not that great. Florida, going into the season, guys, Florida's coming off 5-7, second-year head coach. My buddy Jacob is a die-hard Florida fan, okay? Me and him go back and at it. We're constantly pissing me off in my DMs. But look, man, he was pretty right about some of the stuff I said he was ludicrous at. Florida looked good. They smoked them. What was Tennessee ranked for no reason? They were like number 11. We hadn't seen nothing. Whatever. They looked great last year. That's why I hate preseason rankings. They should be way more fluid. It should way more show me what you've done, not what you did last year, because we'll see what happens against Kentucky next week with Florida. If Kentucky beats Florida, oh my gosh. Kentucky beats Florida, the SEC. I don't see. We'll see how they spin it, and it's a gauntlet, and it just it just means more, and we beat you up. Well, we took out your defending SEC West champion by like 20 points. Destroyed LSU in the fourth quarter in a neutral site game. And then we get to ACC and we hit the road and we struggled 2 weeks. We won. But it must be FSU sucks that it played tough games now that it got into its conference slate. The guys it plays every year, The teams that have something, in mind. The teams that have been looking at this all year in the offseason, getting ready for a big bad Florida State team, that doesn't give a damn if we're good. Doesn't give a damn if we're ranked. We are the program. We are, wire to wire in 1999. We are Peter Ward. We are the DBU. We are the team with 3 national titles that came along with 3 Heisman winners. Who else has done that? When we win the national title, we have a Heisman winner. Did Jordan Travis have a quote unquote Heisman moment this game? He didn't have the usual one. He didn't have some crazy, insane play where he runs for 130 yards, and breaks 13 tackles. But what he did do is he went down there and he got his team a victory. I love this right here. Check out this comment, guys. As a 16-year-old, I have never seen FSU beat Clemson. This is the first time. All right, buddy. Well, when you were 6, we'll give you a pass. 6, 7, 8 years old, however it was, and we got those in 2013 or 2012 through 2014. You were just a tyke. We're glad we got to see you on as a young adult man. Glad the Noles, took care of business. Look, it's not just FSU, buddy. Think back. Can you remember anybody losing at home or anybody beating Clemson at home? No, because you can't, because the last one to do it was us. I'm pretty sure Pitt was on the road since 2011, 42-43, make it 42-44, because the Noles take down Clemson in overtime, Carlos Williams style by Keon Coleman. It's the number 4 instead of the number 9 this time. The right corner of the end zone instead of the left. What a play, guys. What an amazing play, guys. I don't know what else to say about it. Keon Coleman is an absolute animal. I love every one of you guys for joining us in here. Don't forget to hit ticketsmarter.com. It's rolling on the screen down, or the promo down there. $10, $100 off of an order of $10 or $100 or more, and $20 off a purchase of $300 or more. Promo code's BIG and BIG20. My name is George. I run the Renegade Report right here on Twitter. That's at the Renegade Report. Get over there, give me a follow, or not a follow, give me a subscribe right here on YouTube. We're trying to get to partner level. We're oh so close, so we can let you guys become members and get the chats up and all that good stuff. But back to Florida State, guys. We're going to go a little bit longer. We're going to make this thing go an hour, maybe a few minutes more. Guys, hit me with your questions, comments, and we'll get them up there, man. I'm just excited for a Noles team to come out here and get a victory and get that monkey off their back. Make it 42-44 at home. Clemson, the Howard's Rock, that old goofy geology school. They're down there rubbing rocks and crap, Maybe Dabo Swinney won't run down the hill. Maybe, I don't know. This is tough. To lose in overtime, this is tough. I couldn't imagine being a Clemson fan right now. I want to give out respect to the Clemson fan base. Everything I've heard from people that are in town at the game, and I know quite a people down there listening to professional people. Clemson are great fans. I'll give a shout out. There's a dude on Twitter at Max Livingston. This dude is like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Some people say he's a closet FSU fan. I don't want to start any conspiracy theories right here on Mark Rogers. But, man, hey, shout out to Chef Naeem and them guys on the Twitter Spaces the other day. Y'all said Nate Wiggins was the truth. He was going to play a man covered. I think there should have been some calls. They let him play. I believe there was maybe one pass interference the whole game, and I think it was offensive pass interference against Clemson. So Chef Naeem, Anthony West, the dudes that run that space that we got into it with the other day, hats off to y'all. Clemson played a hell of a game, but we did beat the spread. So I don't know how that works. So do we have any sharps in the comment section? It's in overtime. Got it done in overtime. Did it have to be in regular? Did it have to be in normal time, or did people lose their money on that? I'm not sure. Hopefully people that bet Florida State got their money. The over is going to be right there. I believe the over was right there at 50-something. How's this for a gambling podcast? We're not a gambling podcast, guys, but Vegas knows their stuff. Here me and Chris are. I picked the 16-point victory. Chris's was even more elaborate than that. You heard from him earlier in the show. If you missed it, scroll back. Check it out afterwards. Listen to his take on it. Chris Frazier of SPEARATICS. He's the man. He's on here every Wednesday live, 6 p.m. Eastern. FSU Voice of College live stream every Wednesday. Again, he has his show on at SPEARATICS' YouTube channel Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. The Renegade Rundown at the Renegade Report. We just had Jake Crane on this week to talk the Clemson game. The game's passed. I can go ahead and spill the beans. He actually went on his show and picked Clemson. Okay, Jake Crane of Crane and Company, the Daily Wire big time show over there. He was kind enough to come on my channel at the Renegade Report right here on YouTube. Go check out that episode. It's kind of fun to look back, see what he said, see what we said, how it played off. I think we were pretty close, kind of on the gameplay of the game. Florida State just didn't pull away in that second half, guys. Against LSU, they really pulled away, put it out of doubt. But look, this thing was in Death Valley. That means something, okay? It was in Death Valley. I could have got on here and talked shit about certain players making plays, this or that. I know a lot of people are on Twitter bad-mouthing Kevin Knowles. I want to say thank you to Kevin Knowles. Kevin Knowles, you did what you had to do for this team to get the victory. I would have liked to seen Hussey out there more. Maybe I don't know if he's got an injury or something I've missed, if he's not been practicing well. We really haven't seen many of those young guys. They've really hunkered down with the veteran depth. Absolutely, yeah. FSU got one PI call on Green. That's right. So I guess one-on-one. I guess one for each team. Let's see here. We got somebody wrote a paragraph. We'll throw it up here. Smooth, yes, he is. He did so much for families in Tampa and Atlanta. He's definitely one of a kind, and I'm glad that he had a chance to play for my Buccaneers and Seminoles. We got to be talking about Derek Brooks here. Smooth off, yeah. Derek Brooks. He's one of the greatest Knowles of all time. He's like royalty. If you ever get the chance to be around the boxes and kind of the VIP behind the scenes at Florida State, that dude runs shit over there. Looks like LSU might be SEC West champs again. Yeah, I totally agree, man. That win looked giant, man. I mean, you want to talk about having a billfold with some money hanging out of it? Florida State has a giant game in their pocket with that LSU game, and then to take down Clemson, guys. How good does this feel, guys? I mean, how does it feel? Talk to me. How good does it feel? Florida State handles business, takes down Clemson in overtime. There's something, that's been said for a long time. Great players make big plays in big moments. I think I messed that up. Great players make great plays in the biggest moments. Guys, that's what happened today. Keon Coleman, that touchdown, I couldn't even imagine in my entire life having that kind of pressure on me, especially after having played a 60-minute game when it was so tight. Wow. Keon Coleman comes through in the clutch. How about Ryan Fitzgerald? Hits a 48-yard field goal. Has not missed a field goal or an extra point all year. One thing before I get out of here and let you guys know, ticketsmarter.com. Use your promo codes BIG and BIG20. BIG for $10 off your order of $100 or more. BIG20 for your order of $300 or more. Do it. Ticket Smarter, man. It's the best way to go. I guarantee it. But the commercial, my Lord heaven. Oh, my Lanta. Those commercials. How brutal were the commercials, Noel? I've talked about it. It doesn't get talked about much. I'm not going to talk about it for 10 years. But it's painfully clear that all college football wanted to do was use this running clock that has really changed the game. And that's a whole different subject. We'll have to talk about that with Mark and Chris and James and the guys Wednesday on the FSU live stream, how this clock change has totally changed the game. And it really has changed, especially in the first half. You just do not get the possessions in the first half that you used to. These 2-minute drives are 4-minute drives. These even these air raid offenses, and I forget which drive it was in my notes, but we had a drive where we hit 6 plays in a row that were first downs. First down, 60 yards down the field. And back in the day, that wouldn't have bit any time off the clock hardly whatsoever. But with this new rule, those 6-7 plays that were all first downs, tick, 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 3, 4, 5 minutes. But it's painfully clear, painfully obvious that there's no reason for that. They wanted to keep these games at 3 hours and 30 minutes and fit in the same exact number or more commercials than they did when it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. If you're watching Florida State the past couple of years, you've seen whole halves of drives cutting out. All the times, multiple drives missed because you got to get the commercial in. You miss it. They'll be doing an interview. They're trying to squeeze in because of commercial time. Some all-state interview, plays going on. They wouldn't even have it on the side of the screen. You miss it. So that's an absolute nightmare. But yeah, Travis had a clean game. Finally gave up a sack, unfortunately. Guys, thank you for joining us. I love you guys. I love my Florida State Seminoles. I love being able to do this. Again, go check out Chris at SpearAtics. Go follow the Voice of College Football main channel at the Voice of College Football. If you're not subscribed and liking and set up for your notifications right here at the FSU Voice of College Football, do that right now. Again, thank you everybody for joining me. I'm at the Renegade Report right here on YouTube. Go give me a subscription. We appreciate you, and go Noles. 4-0 Noles, baby.